Well, to start with, I think it's a very individual picture, and indeed, I think we could say that it's a very unfashionable picture. Many of the younger painters today in most countries are using a very flat, hard edge kind of approach, which is quite legitimate. But this man is doing something, I think, quite different, and in fact, in some ways, more traditional. He's concerned very much with the three-dimensional quality. The imagery is a three-dimensional one. You feel that you can go in or put your hand in to the picture. But from then, any traditional aspect, I think, stops, because it's very much a 20th century image. This curious, ambiguous quality. We don't quite know what is happening. It may be a cupboard on a wall. It may be some kind of architectural structure. It leaves us guessing in some way, and I think it's because it leaves me guessing that I'm intrigued by it.
Tonight's roving eye is a roving eye with a difference. In Maitland this afternoon, Mr. Eric Westbrook from the National Gallery of Victoria awarded prizes in the NBN Channel 3 Maitland Art Prize. And this evening, standing in front of the winning painting, James Meldrum's Green Space, we asked Mr. Westbrook what such art shows as this in Maitland contribute towards art in Australia. Mr. Westbrook, do they help?
Well, I think undoubtedly the Maitland show has helped. It's, I believe, one of the oldest established of the shows, and undoubtedly over the years it's done two things. One is that in its early days, I think it brought a lot of artists who are now probably fairly famous into prominence, and it started to build up a collection which I would like to feel is going to lead to a Maitland art gallery, because you can't just show serious and important pictures in what, I don't know what this is, but it looks like a cowshed.
No, it probably is. Do they contribute, however, to a sort of public understanding of art, a greater appreciation of art in Australia?
I think they have done. I think these kind of competitions have done a very valuable thing, but it may well be that they're coming to the end of their importance. I think that, the competition can become pretty dangerous, I think. You see, after all, a competition, it's a kind of, well, who's best on the day thing, and you're comparing chalk and cheese often. And this makes a decision a pretty brutal thing, because a good painter may feel, because he doesn't get the prize, that he's no good, and I wouldn't like to imply that at all.
It's also been suggested that in the smaller shows like Maitland's, or probably those even smaller still, there are so many artists, local artists, trying to make good, that the standard isn't what it ought to be, and all too often they are discouraged, and so's the public, in seeing not very much good art.
Yes, I think that's not I think that's a fairly valid argument. And it may well be, I think, that in the future, prizes of this kind perhaps ought to be changed. I would like, for instance, to see an experiment in an invitation prize, so that you invite artists to participate. Then you don't get such a lot of disappointed people, and the people who would inevitably be knocked out anyway in this kind of professional competition can find other ways of showing without such heartache.
Well, before we get round to this particular prize, what are you then going to do for the amateur who has no other place to show it?
Oh, they have. I think today that artists probably have more chances of showing than ever before. And it isn't very good either for the professional or the amateur to be mixed in, you know. I think it's all right for open tennis, but I don't think for open art.
Getting back to this show then, the standard here is not what you'd call disappointing.
Not a bit. But that's because the works that you see on the walls, of course, are being selected from a large number of others. You mustn't think that what you see on the walls here is the entry. It's not. It's the entry which has been very carefully and very skillfully vetted, so that the poor things have been dropped already before the public comes in.
Is there any appreciable tendency in art in these or regional art, like here in Maitland, from the art in the big cities?
No, I don't think so. I think here at the moment Australia is going through a quite legitimate and in some ways healthy phase of what I might call the international idiom. It's been lamented, I think, by a number of newspaper critics that we're becoming kind of Americanized, you know, that Australian art is losing its personal flavour. I don't find this so devastating as some of my colleagues on the critical pages find it. I think it's inevitable that at one time or another, one city or one country is a strong influence. And there's no real reason to regret American art when you haven't regretted French art in a previous generation.
Do you regret any lack of genuine or obviously Australian art?
I think that national characteristics don't come from kind of waving a flag, you know, and talking like British television serial Australians, you know, using words that have gone right out of the language now, talking about cobbers and Sheilas and whatnot. I don't think it comes that way. I think it comes from the innate character of the people and the country in which they live. Now, this will come through in whichever idiom. If it's genuine, it'll come through in whichever idiom.
You don't see it appearing sort of spontaneously from the, well, a backwoods artist, an unknown who appears in a show like this or in Muswellbrook?
Oh, it can do. I mean, one of the great excitements of all art is that the maverick sometimes comes through, and the maverick may be a very exciting and valuable artist. I mean, the artist that I've given the prize to today, James Meldrum, is certainly not working in what I might call a fashionable style. You know, he's working in a style which very few younger painters are tempted by. But nevertheless, it's not because of this that I've given it the prize, because I might have found a picture in a current idiom that was terribly good. But I think most of the pictures in the current idiom at the moment, in this exhibition, while they're good, are not outstandingly good. Whereas I think Meldrum's picture is a personally fine, valid statement. And that's why I gave it the prize.
You don't think that undue public attention on art is doing it harm rather than good?
Oh no, I think art is a public thing, isn't it? You don't paint pictures to stuff them under the bed. You paint them for other people to look at, enjoy, get excited about, angry about, what have you. And it's the business is only, the circle is only complete when someone's looked at a painting. Paintings put away in cupboards are not really alive.
And you'd like to see more shows like this in more centres like this?
Oh yes, what I want to see is in fact an important centre like Maitland with a proper art gallery. I think this is absolutely vital. You can't go on trying to provide people, much as the organisers here have done a wonderfully gallant job, but you can't go on under these circumstances. Maitland is wealthy enough, Maitland's important enough to have a very good gallery.
And there we'll leave it with that hint to the Alderman of Maitland.
a demonstration that disrupted the workings of a government department for more than an hour for a student, Jeff Wilson.
Yes, Jeff has refused to comply with the National Service Act in refusing to attend a medical. He feels that he cannot take advantage of the conscientious objectors clause.
What has happened to him?
He has now gone to jail for 7 days and has been fined $50. Several organisations have offered to pay the fine, including Save Our Sons. There's a collection being taken up by university staff, also the Students' Association.
He's a practising Christian. He could have gotten out of this.
Yes, he could have got out, most probably, under the conscientious objectors clause as a total pacifist and a Christian. However, he feels that this is avoidance of responsibility in taking way out through a loophole in the law when he feels the whole law to be immoral and wishes the whole law to be repealed, as do most of us.
What happens if he continues to refuse?
If he continues to refuse, he will be sent to jail for 2 years.